Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and it is official, the very first team in the Overwatch League is leaving the league. And the team that officially folded is the Chengdu Hunters. Now, it was already kind of assumed that the Hunters weren't going to be continuing operation, at least for Season 6, because, well, they didn't even have a roster ready for the beginning of Season 6. However, the league did grant them the opportunity to try to just scrounge up some players to make something happen, but they just didn't. But it was made official today that they were just gonna completely fold, making this the very first Overwatch League team to officially dissolve. Now, I know some people might be confused by my wording because they'll think about the Philadelphia Fusion because they're no longer in the league, and they'll think about the Paris Eternal, but there's a huge difference between moving a team like the Paris Eternal to Vegas and rebranding a team like the Philadelphia Fusion to the Seoul Infernal. And the difference between those two teams and the Hunters is that the Hunters is just straight up stopping, cold turkeying. They're no longer gonna be existing in any way, shape, or form. No legacy team, nothing. They are done. That means that there's only 19 teams left in the league, but more importantly, there's only 3 Chinese teams left: the Dragons, the Charge, and the Spark. And I bring up the 3 other Chinese teams because a lot of people make the assumption, oh, well, this caused some sort of domino effect. If the Hunters leave, did that mean that the other Chinese teams will want to follow suit? Because as many people already know, the Chinese government just straight up banned Overwatch from being distributed in their country because they're very particular about what sort of media is distributed in their country. We've already talked about it. We're not going to go into details and the ethics behind it. Just know that Overwatch is no longer playable, accessible in China. And that doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to fostering a roster for a Chinese-based Overwatch League team, because you can just easily import talent from South Korea or from the United States or Europe, from all around the world. I mean, shoot, they already do that with South Korean players for Western teams. But while making a team might not be relevant, trying to market that team to your audience is super relevant, because while these teams are playing a video game at the end of the day and left to entertain us, they're still a business at the end of the day. They still have to make money in some way, shape, or form. And if you're not able to not only show the team to your audience, but more importantly, broadcast the games to the country that literally just banned the game, then you're not going to make any money. So that's why I'm not surprised by the Hunters folding, but, and again, I don't know much details about the Spark, Charge, and the Dragons, but I wouldn't be surprised if those 3 teams folded at least after Season 6 or in the near future, if Blizzard and the Chinese government don't work some sort of deal to be able to broadcast and market those teams. Now, luckily, the Overwatch League is a worldwide global league. Like, people can still be fans of the Chinese teams, and they can still make money through the means of broadcasting through other audiences other than just the Chinese audience. But the thing is, though, the Chinese audience was such a huge market, not only for the league, but especially Overwatch. And just in general, it's just a huge market for broadcasting rights as a whole. So losing the ability to distribute Overwatch in China not only just hurt Overwatch 2, but it also drastically hurt the Overwatch League, because, well, that's where a lot of revenue came from. So I'll say that that's like one of the biggest reasons as to why this was one of the first teams to officially fold and dissolve in the league, is the fact that Overwatch is just straight up banned in China. When one of your Overwatch League teams is based in China and you're not able to play the game, yeah, that's gonna kind of have an effect on the league. But while banning Overwatch in China definitely helped influence the Hunters' decision to leave, it's definitely not the only reason. People make the dumb assumption that, oh, it's because Blizzard ruined Overwatch's 2 PvE future, and it's like, guys, you have no idea how separate the Overwatch League operates to Blizzard and their Overwatch division. Like, I don't really even think they operate together other than just making skins. Like, it truly is almost like 2 separate companies working apart from each other that just so happen to play the exact same game. I really don't think the current state of Overwatch has as big of an impact on the Overwatch League as you would like to believe so, but more so just the state of esports as a whole. And while it's very easy to point and laugh and dunk on the Overwatch League and Overwatch as a whole for quote-unquote failing, this is happening in every single esports realm. Even in a game like League of Legends, that's probably the most successful esports game of all time, where they have created some of the most legacy-filled teams of all time. A team like TSM, which is exactly what I just described, has just announced that they're going to be leaving the LCS. Now, they are going to be transitioning to a different region within League of Legends. They're still going to have a competitive team compared to the Hunters that is just straight up dissolving, but it's just to show you just how drastic some of these changes are making due to the fact that esports right now is just in a huge recession, because do you think TSM would continue to operate in LCS if they were making tens of billions of dollars? Absolutely, but they're not. They're not making any money while being in LCS, so they got to go to a different region or have investors come in and move the team to a different region. And what's happening with TSM is exactly what's happening with the Philadelphia Fusion when made into the Seoul Eternal, is exactly what happened with the Paris Eternal made into the Vegas Eternal, but unfortunately is not what's happening with the Hunters. But why is that? Why aren't they moving to a different region, like to Chicago or Phoenix or maybe another New York team? I don't know, like, why aren't they doing that? Well, once again, it's due to the fact that esports right now, it is in a huge recession. The esports bubble is starting to pop. Now, you always hear these words, recession, bubble popping, but what does that mean? Well, if you don't keep up with esports history, you would not know for the past decade, a majority of these esports teams were running on what was called investor money. You see, back in 2009, 2010, 2011, games like CSGO and League of Legends and shoot, even Call of Duty was starting to gain popularity, but back then they were running on very, very small budgets, like from sponsorships and whatnot. But slowly over time, a lot more people started to watch these games, started to watch these teams, and anytime something gains popularity, someone out there is trying to monetize it or at least try to capitalize on it in any way, shape, or form. So towards the middle of the 2010s, a lot of these teams started to go to these groups called venture capitalistic groups. Basically, groups of billionaires that have tons of money to burn with the promise of either making that money back and making more money on top of the money that they just spent. But the reason why these groups of people, or sometimes even one person, is willing to spend millions of dollars on these esports teams is that they are given the promise that they could possibly have another New York Yankees or an LA Laker or another Arsenal football team. You know, those teams are worth billions of dollars. I mean, shoot, Michael Jordan is selling the Charlotte Hornets for like $3 billion, and I think he bought a portion of the team for like $92 million. So when these Overwatch League teams go and pitch the Overwatch League to these billionaire owners, like to Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots, who currently owns the Boston Uprising, what they're telling them is, listen, all you gotta do is give us like $30 million up front to get a slot in the league, and then you gotta pay the operating fees, which is like, I don't know, $1 million a year, and if you continuously do that, invest in this esports thing, you could potentially have another $1 billion team, all for just spending a couple $1 million up front. So a lot of these investor groups are thinking, okay, well, $30 million, it's not that much, which is so funny to say, but let's take on the risk and let's hope for another New England Patriots. And then they buy in and they're all excited, and then the first year goes, it's like, okay, that's cool. We didn't really make a lot of money, but hey, we spent a lot of money up front. Soon the revenue will start to come in, and they're thinking they're gonna make money through merchandise, through broadcasting deals, through the sale of players, or through any sort of revenue stream that is pretty typical in the NFL and the NBA, you know, groups like that. But then the second year goes like, okay, we're not making any money. The third year comes and they're looking at the balance sheet like, we are spending more money than we are making money. What is going on? And then again, one of two things happen. Either A, they sell the team to somebody else to take on the risk to make money, and they take a slight little L for trying to take on this risk of this new Overwatch League, or B, they just fully dissolve. They just straight up cut all operations because nobody wants to take their slot. The second thing is exactly what's happening with the Hunters. They're looking around and nobody wants to buy the Hunter slot because nobody is making money in esports. They're not making money through merchandise, through broadcasting deals, through anything. And that's exactly how a recession happens, because when word gets out, when these teams aren't making money and when these owners try to sell their team, they're left looking around and wondering, well, where is the buyers? You promised me that this team would be worth $1 billion and no one wants to buy my slots. And that's exactly what's happening with the Hunters. They're looking around and be like, okay, well, no one wants to buy our Overwatch League slot. We're just gonna cut all ties and take a quick L. Yeah, it sucks, but whoever is the investor of the Hunters probably thought, whatever, I can just invest in another Chinese tech company down the road and make another billion easy. But I can't make another billion if I'm left trying to fund this Overwatch League team. I'm gonna cut all ties and I'm gonna leave. And when one billionaire owner leaves the league, monkey see, monkey do, another billionaire owner is gonna bounce too. And it's not just happening in the league, like I said, it's happening in League of Legends and CSGO and Rocket League and in Call of Duty, but more so now than ever on the Overwatch League, because again, I'm not going to try to smoke on copium. The Overwatch League is not in the greatest spot in esports, but then again, none of the esports games are. I mean, Valorant is probably the only exception, and maybe League of Legends, because Riot actually fosters a great esports environment, but when it comes to the Overwatch League, Blizzard don't. They just don't. And it's sad because the Overwatch League, again, I'm biased here, but is a great esport, and hopefully Blizzard and Activision does not let the Overwatch League fold, because, well, then it'll look really bad on their part, and that would be a PR nightmare, knowing that their esports team folded because it wasn't making any money, and now caused a lot of people to lose faith in Overwatch 2. So maybe this might be a good thing. Maybe this means that Blizzard will actually try to invest more in their Overwatch League rather than just making a couple of skins. I wish I had more positive things to say, but this is not a great time to be not only an Overwatch fan, an Overwatch League fan, or an esports fan. But again, all recessions end eventually. I mean, everyone's in a recession. It's not even just esports. Everyone in the real world is in a recession, but we just got to get through it, man. But until then, we still have the Overwatch League I mean, the mid-season manage just ended, and we have the World Cup happening this weekend, so that's going to be exciting. But until then, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.